but we'll zip this off with our little ratchet here. I think I just dropped the bolt on the floor, but that's okay. I'll get it in a little bit. See, now I've got the bolt out of that bracket. It's a little 2-part bracket. Don't even take it off. Don't bother messing with it. Just kind of get it out of the way. I'll leave it right there like that. And then now what I'm going to do is get my 3/8 ratchet, my 12mm socket here. So take these 2 pump bolts out. I'm going to get this rear one right here off. Sorry, I'm not very good at working this camera and doing this at the same time, so I might need to set the phone down again to loosen this bolt up. Let's see. Oh, it's starting to come here. Okay. There's a 12mm bolt here in the back side of the pump. Excuse me. I'm allergic. Okay. So once you crack it loose with the ratchet, it should come out pretty easy with your fingers. I'll take it out with my fingers here. And these 2 bolts are going to be exactly the same. They're both going to be black like this, a 12mm head, so it's pretty easy to remember. They're basically going to be the only 2 black bolts you take out. So I'm going to set them up here on my cowl, and then I'm going to get the other bolt here that's underneath. I might have to set my phone down to do it. See if I can kind of show you where it's at here. It's right down underneath the pump, underneath that black tube where the line goes to. So I'm just going to crack it loose with my ratchet here, if I can. Sorry, I'm moving all over the place. Get that started coming out there. Once it starts getting a little loose, you should be able to take it out by hand. See how loose that pump is now? Stick my finger through the hole in the pulley here and take that bolt out with my fingers. If you're in a giant hurry or you're a professional, you're probably not watching my video anyways, but you don't have to do this by hand. You can use your electric ratchet or whatever you want. It's just easy enough for me to do this while I'm holding my phone, so just get that bolt all the way out of there eventually. Okay, I'm going to pull the bolt out. The other black 10mm or 12mm head bolt, just like the other one. I'm going to set it up here next to that one so we know that those 2 go together. Alright, so now I got my pump ready to come out. All I'm going to do here is just lift it up and set it over here. Boom. It's out of the way. Now I can access what I need to access, the timing belt covers, and then there's this 10mm bolt down here that has to come out because this bracket, this whole bracket here will come off to get to our water pump. So I'm going to take off this here 10mm bolt. I'm going to grab my electric ratchet real quick, or electric impact I should say. Zip this out here real quick. Get that set up here with the other stuff. Okay, now there's not much left to this really. There's a few bolts, but the only other thing you have to take off up here is this serpentine belt tensioner. So it's kind of hard to see, but here's your tensioner. It's got 2 pulleys on it. Here's your upper pulley, here's your bottom pulley. This bolt right here, this big bolt, I believe is a 17mm. We're gonna have to remove that. And then down towards the bottom where it's very hard to see, way down there next to the AC compressor. Let's see if I can get my light in here. It's kind of stuck. But anyways, way down here next to the AC compressor, there's a little, almost looks like a shock absorber on this one that's attached to the serpentine belt tensioner. And it's so hard to see, it's really blurry. But there's a 12 millimeter bolt down there as well that I have to take off to remove the tensioner all the way. So I am going to grab my 17 millimeter ratcheting wrench so I can get that bolt out there. I'll show you that real quick. Let's see if I can get a good angle on this so you can actually see it. Yeah, kind of. If this wasn't in the way, you'd be able to see it better. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab that wrench. Alright, got my eBay special wrench here. It's the flex head, pretty long, 17 millimeter. I'm gonna use that to loosen up this bottom bolt here on the serpentine belt tensioner. Get my light out of the way so I don't crush it by accident. Jam the light up here so hopefully we can see what's going on. Okay, so I've got my ratchet, my eBay special on here. Just gonna break this loose. It's pretty hard to get loose, but it'll get easier as it comes out. Oops. Just knocked my light down. Trying to get some light in here so I can show you, but oops. Alright, I'm gonna have to set the phone down. I gotta use my other hand to hold this on here. But I'm just gonna get this loosened up here a little bit. And like most of them, it should, once you loosen it up a little bit, it should come out with your fingers. See if I can get this out of the way so I can actually show you what's going on here. I'm just gonna loosen this up. Now this bolt isn't going to come out all the way out of the pulley itself. There's a little plastic ring in there that holds this bolt in, so don't think it's going to come out and keep twisting on it all day long and wonder why it's not coming out. You just twist it enough to where you can see that the tensioner is no longer attached to the engine. So then we got to come down here at the bottom. I'm probably not going to be able to even show you this because I can't see down here, but I know exactly where this bolt is. So there's a 12 millimeter bolt way down here, kind of next to the compressor. And see if I can get my hand in here to hold it. It's way down here. I'll show you what it looks like once I take it off. I'm just going to remove that bolt all the way out. Try not to drop it way down in the black abyss of the engine down here. Okay. Oh, there goes the tensioner. I didn't mean to drop it, but here's the bolt that I just removed off the bottom of the tensioner down there. So I'm going to set that off to the side. I'm going to find the tensioner on the ground here. Okay, here's the tensioner. There's that little shock absorber that I took that 12 millimeter out of. There's a 17 millimeter. I actually dropped a part of this down there, but there's a little metal washer that keeps that bolt from falling off. And if you look down there, you can kind of see where I dropped it. Let me grab it real quick before I forget about it. If I can reach it with my fingers. Okay. All right, there's just this little washer that helps hold that bolt in there. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this back on here, just like that. It keeps that bolt from falling off. So just make sure you put that back on if your specific model has that one. Set the tensioner down here. I'm going to grab that bolt that I took out off of here and just stick it back in the hole. That way I know that's where it goes. Okay. So now that that's out of the way, we've got our two upper timing covers, and there are 5 10 millimeter bolts in each one. There's one here, one over here, one down here. This is why we have to remove the tensioner, because in order to access this bolt down in the corner, down here you have to remove the tensioner. And there's one in the middle inside of a hole right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my electric ratchet so I can figure out where I put it, and I'm going to remove these 5 bolts off of this upper timing cover here. So see if I can kind of show you without. Don't drop these either, 'cause you'll lose them and they'll never be found. My little electric ratchet makes everything so much easier. And then there's one in this hole down here. Which you probably can't see. Okay. There's one way over here. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but trust me, there's 5 bolts on this bad boy, so we'll just get this last one out. Set my bolts down so I don't drop one of them. Just trying to get my ratchet finagled in here so I can reach it. Okay. Now I've got all 5 of my bolts removed out of that front side cover there. They look like this. They're all the same. They have this little collar on them that fits inside the plastic. So make sure you keep these 5 together. I set them down here for a second. And then this plastic cover here will just kind of pull off. And you can see the timing belt behind that. Just kind of wiggle it around. And remove it carefully. And then once you get it off, you'll notice that there is a gasket in there. It's just to keep dirt and crap out of it. Make sure that gasket doesn't fall off. Make sure it stays in the cover where it's supposed to. This one looks fine. So what I'm going to do now is, you're not supposed to do this, but I do it anyways. Put my bolts in the cover. And then I'm going to set my cover up here, right there, on the windshield, just carefully. Okay, I've got the front one off. Then I'm just going to do the same thing for the rear cover here. Same thing, there's 5 bolts holding that in. And there is a wire on this rear one though that's kind of clipped into this cover. Very carefully, just pop it out of the cover. Don't go hog wild and break it off. Just pop it out just enough out of this little slot. I'll show you the slot once I get it off. There's a slot there that that wire clamps into. It's just kind of a pressed in fit, so you don't have to do nothing. Just pop it out with your fingers. Okay. Excuse me. And then I'm going to take off these 5 bolts real quick. I'm going to set my phone down. You can kind of see a couple of them. Remove these 5 bolts. There's 4. One more up here in this corner. Okay, now I've got my 5 bolts out. Same thing. Just grab the top of this cover with your finger, pull it back a little bit, and kind of wiggle it and pull up a little bit because it's got a little thing that sits in the bottom down there. Get your rear cover off, check your gasket, make sure it's not falling out. It looks fine. Set this one up here next to the other one. Throw my bolts in there, that way I don't lose them. Okay, so now we've got the belt exposed on the top here, but we've still got to remove the bottom cover and then the crankshaft pulley, which is down there. So I'm going to have to lift this thing up in the air, remove the right front tire to get access to this pulley down here. And then I will show you how to do all of that here in a second. Let me grab my tools that are up here, set these off to the side. Get all my tools out of the way, because as soon as I get it up in the air, I'll need something that's on the hood. Shut my light off here real quick. Alright, so I work at a shop. Obviously I have a hoist, so if you don't have one, you can do this with a jack, but let me get this thing up in the air, get the tire removed. Then I will show you how to remove the crankshaft pulley bolt and the crankshaft pulley. And then remove the lower timing cover, and then we'll have the belt exposed. Show you how to remove the timing belt, how to check the tensioner for the timing belt also, and how to remove the water pump and replace the water pump. So we're going to get it up in the air, I'm gonna grab myself a 22 millimeter socket, and I'm gonna use my big electric ratchet to remove the lug nuts. So let me go grab my socket real quick here. 22 millimeter. Okay, so now I'm probably gonna have to set my phone down again when I do this, but boom. Let's see if I can show you, whoops, with one hand here. Just gonna remove the lug nuts. Try to do this with one hand is like almost impossible, so I think you get the picture. If you don't know how to remove a tire, you probably shouldn't be doing a timing belt. So I'm gonna set this down for a second while I remove the other lug nuts. Okay, set my lug nuts down. I'm gonna take the tire off and set it on the ground here real quick. Okay, now I've got the tire off. Now there's this plastic cover right here that's right in the way of the crankshaft pulley, and there's a plastic push pin there I'm gonna remove. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's one right there also that is pretty much broken already. And these things break super easy, so don't be surprised if they break. I keep extras around just for that purpose alone, and you can buy them on eBay. You can get like a couple hundred of them for $10 or so, so I just keep them on hand in case I break one. But what I got here is this snap-on prying stick, I call it, clip remover. I'm trying to focus on it, but can't really see it, but I'm gonna use this to pry out this clip here. Just very carefully get it worked up underneath there, and then hold on to it a little bit there and kind of wiggle and pull. See, there we go, it popped right out. Not always that easy, that's for sure. Set this down over here. And then this one under here that's broken is not going to be very easy to do, because they use the world's cheapest plastic clips that are very weak, and they do not like to be removed. Pretty much once they're used once, they're gonna break for sure. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's the clip there. I'm gonna grab some special clip removal pliers for that one. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. You don't have to have it, you can do it with a screwdriver, but this just makes it easier. I've got these little angled clip pliers here. So I'm gonna take these clip pliers and see if I can get this out, since it's pretty much already broken. I'm gonna squeeze this right here and yank that middle part out. It actually survived, surprisingly. But the clip is all busted up, but it'll still go in. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. So that'll be fine. I just make sure these little tabs aren't broke off. Okay, I'll set that over to the side there. And then I'm gonna take this plastic cover, just kind of bend it down and out of my way. So there you can see the the crankshaft pulley there. And what do we got going on here? We got some kind of clip that's installed wrong there, and it's upside down. Somebody's been in here playing around with this before. So what I'm gonna do now, to give myself the room, and instead of having to spend all the time and work taking this whole thing off, I'm gonna just get a bungee cord and move this little flap of plastic out of my way so I can get in there and actually work on the stuff. So I grab me a little cheapo junk bungee cord here and just kind of hook it up to this little hole in the middle here. There's a little hole that you can stick a wrench through to get to your crank pulley. But what I'm going to do is, I got that hook there, I'm just going to stretch it around over to the grill over here. And be careful, if you get this thing way too tight, you'll end up busting this plastic out of the grill. You don't want to do that. You just want it to be snug enough to hold that out of your way. So then the next part, which is going to be the killer for most people that try to do this themselves, is this bolt on this crankshaft pulley is almost impossible to remove with any type of hand tools. They do make a tool that's used to hold this pulley. There's a big hex here, and there's a tool that will stick into this hex and hold that, and then you have to use a breaker bar to try to break this loose, which may or may not work. And if you're not like 200 plus pounds and have a hoist to do this on, it's probably not going to come out very easily. But I have a solution for that. This is the secret that I will let you know about, that a lot of Honda technicians don't want you to know about, but I don't care because it's a free world. I can say what I want. So I'm gonna show you the special socket I use to remove this bolt. I'm gonna have to go grab it real quick, so I'll be right back. Okay, secret time. So in order to get this bolt out of here, I have this special socket. This thing's called a power socket. It's a 19 millimeter Ingersoll Rand. You can see the part number on there if you want to look it up. But this works amazing. This thing, it's weighted. It has a very thick walled metal that doesn't twist when you apply torque to it. So this is what you need to get that thing out of there. And I'm using someone else's impact here because mine's not strong enough. But I have this Cobalt 1000 max foot-pound impact wrench that actually works. My Milwaukee one, I think, is getting worn out because it used to be able to take these bolts out, but it doesn't anymore. So I'm gonna have to use the old air gun to do this. So let me grab my air hose and I'll show you when I take this bolt out of here what happens. And it's very hit or miss with these bolts. If they've been out before, they'll more than likely come out a little easier than one that's never been out, but you don't know just by looking at it usually. So, and sometimes they don't come out on your first try either. Sometimes you have to tighten it, loosen it, tighten it. Sometimes they come out super easy, so we'll see what this one does. Look at that. Bolt came out first try. If you don't believe me that this works, try it with a regular impact. I don't care how strong or an expensive impact you have, it will not come out. No way. Tried it. I've been doing this for 10 years. It's not gonna happen. So okay, now that I got that middle bolt out of the crankshaft pulley there, I'm gonna try to prop my phone up here. Sorry about the stupid camera angle here. I need both hands to get this pulley out. So once you get that bolt loose, essentially this thing should just come off. You're just gonna have to grab it with both hands, like one on each side here, and kind of start wiggling it around. You can feel it wiggling. It might take a minute, it might be a little difficult to get out, but just have some patience and keep wiggling it back and forth, back and forth. Change positions with your hands a few times. Just keep on wiggling her until she comes off. You shouldn't have to use any tools or anything to get this off, which I have had to do that before, but even with almost 250,000 miles on this thing's still coming off. Okay, it's just about off. Just keep wiggling. There, popped it off. Alright, so now I got the pulley removed. Set that off to the side. And one thing that you need to pay close attention to is there's a keyway on this crankshaft right here. You don't want that to fall out, you want to leave that in there, so let's make sure that's still in there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take off this other timing cover, the bottom one. So I'm going to lift it up in the air to get a better view of it. Of course, it's Michigan, it's winter, it's snowing. I'm getting snow and water dripping on me, but I signed up for this shit, so. Okay, so there is the bottom cover. There's gonna be 7 10mm bolts that will be exactly like the other ones that we removed from the top cover. So if they get mixed up, they're all exactly the same, but there are 7 on this cover. So I'm gonna get my little ratchet out here. This one, take out these 7 bolts. I'm just gonna kind of prop this up right here. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it or not. Okay, so sorry about the bad camera angle there, but I have no choice right now, so I'm gonna finish taking out all 7 of these bolts here. 7 way up here in the corner. Okay. Alright, see if we can see what's going on here. So I've got all 7 of those bolts removed out of this cover. Just gonna grab the bottom of it, pull out, give it a little wiggle, pull it out through this hole here, kind of finagle it out, get this out of